Hey guys, welcome back. We are now in phase 2.
Alright Mike, so let's talk about phase 2. What's our goal in this phase?
Well, easy. This goal, the phase 2 goal is basically to burn the belly fat now. We want to go ahead and reduce your waistline because in phase 1, we increase your metabolism. So now in phase 2, we're going to go ahead and burn the belly fat. You're going to see a lot more visual results now in this phase. Also, in phase 2, we want to start actually concentrating on putting quality muscle. Remember in phase 1, we were just adding a lot of extra muscle as much as we can to increase your metabolism, but phase 2 is going to be actually concentrating on building some quality now.
Yeah, and I think this is a really exciting phase because, for the first time, guys are going to start to see a reduction in that waistline and, some visual results. And if they've really laid the foundation right in phase 1, then it's going to be a lot easier than if they hadn't.
Definitely. Phase 2, you're also going to see that the workouts are going to be, well, they're not really going to be faster, but you're going to see that the rest times are actually start to decrease. And we do that so this way it increases your intensity. So remember, we're taking it step by step. Supersets are now also introduced in phase 2. And what supersets are basically are just 2 exercises done back to back without rest. And also, I think we need to talk about in phase 2, because we're going to be concentrating on quality than just concentrating on more, just getting more muscle, we're actually going to start reducing the exercise load. Instead of working on total body, you're going to start concentrating on individual muscle groups. So you'll see that in the phases, in this phase, the workouts are actually split up to where you're going to work out on your entire body, but it's going to take about, I believe, about 3 days to do it. So it's going to split up into 3 days, called a 3-day split. So those are going to be the changes here in phase 2 that's going to actually develop the quality muscle you're looking for.
Yeah, and I think this phase, phase 1 is kind of tough just because you're first getting into it, you're doing the total body workouts. And these are also, pretty hard workouts, but in a different way. Just because they're individual body parts, you don't get that whole body exhaustion, but you do get like a really, like a deeper exhaustion in the individual body parts you are working out. And also, I would have to say the supersets and less rest.
Yeah.
If you haven't done that before, that can be a challenge, but it's really, really going to pay off in the belly fat.
Also in phase 2, we're going to start bumping up the nutritional demand now. We want to go ahead and make sure you're now eating 3 Tupperwares. So in our zero willpower eating system, remember we're taking steps for this transition to where you're fully in the system, you're following all the steps. But in phase 2, it's now required to go ahead and bump it up from the 1 Tupperware that we talked about in phase 1 to now 3 Tupperwares. And we do that so this way you have more control of what you're eating, and also we do that so this way you can go ahead and reduce the calories without reducing the amount of food.
Great. Okay, so one thing you mentioned was that one of our primary goals was to build quality muscle. What exactly do you mean by that, and how do we build that quality muscle?
Well, we build the quality muscle by basically concentrating more on individual body parts now. So instead of spending 30 to 45 minutes working on your entire body to where you're only able to do about 2 or 3 sets per body part, we're now going to increase the sets now from anywhere from, I believe, anywhere from 8 to about 12 sets per body part, and sometimes even more, sometimes a little less. But if we put more concentrate on it now, we're going to be able to build better quality muscle, and at the same time, you're going to see that we're starting to hit the same muscles at different angles, so this way you can get fully developed muscles. Another thing with supersets is supersets are going to increase the intensity of the exercise, which is going to fully exhaust those muscles that you want to work on. So now it's a little tougher, but supersets are going to go ahead and help you build a quality muscle, and at the same time you're going to find that the workout intensity is going to be a little higher, and you're going to find you're burning more calories doing your workouts.
Yeah, and I think that's a key point too, where we're still like getting that metabolic effect because it's still weight training.
Yeah.
But that's one thing I definitely noticed too, that it's also like a pretty fast, intense cardio as well. Where
definitely,
when you're doing these supersets, you're not having too much rest, and it's basically like all the benefits of weight training and all the benefits of a cardio workout.
Right. So with the supersets introduced, you'll see that you're actually going to be building more muscle at the same time too. So remember, guys, even though we are in phase 2, the phase 1 effect doesn't leave, and it just continues. So think of it as adding on to phase 1. But phase 1 is building your metabolism. So you're constantly building your metabolism. So even though the goal in phase 2 now is to burn belly fat and it's to start building quality muscle, you're still constantly at all times building and increasing your metabolism.
Yeah, I think it's a really key point for guys to keep in mind as well, that, you know, we never just like forget the stuff that we did in phase one.
Right.
You know, we keep that as our foundation, and all we're doing is building on top of that and adding to it.
Exactly.
Okay, so let's talk about the nutritional aspect of this. What are the major nutritional things that guys are going to have to keep in mind during phase two?
Well, the most important is bumping your meals up to 3 meals per day. So,
and by that you mean 3 of the zero willpower meals, right?
Exactly. So you still want to try to eat about 4 to 5 meals, but out of those 4 or 5, you want 3 of those to be the zero willpower eating meals. So this way you can make sure you're getting the calories that you need, getting the nutrients that you need, and having more control over it. But at the same time, you're not increasing the total amount of calories. Because you'll find that the more zero willpower meals you eat, you're going to see that you're actually eating more food, but your calories are actually lower. And that's actually a pretty awesome, awesome concept, you know.
Yeah.
And that's how, you know, we're able to eat so much. But yet, when you look at the amount of calories we eat versus, you know, somebody who doesn't follow the system, you know, they're like, wow, you know, and it's like you're consuming twice the amount of food that I am, but yet the calories lower. And that's how you're able to maintain the quality muscle and at the same time lose weight. And it's awesome. So that's one of the things that they need to follow. Definitely bumping it up to 3 meals per day on the zero willpower.
And we thought about, I know that like, this was kind of a challenge for us designing it, because we thought about things like, you know, reducing portion size and like, you know, reducing calories and things like that. But we decided that, you know, like increasing it from 1 to 3 meals is probably, first of all, the simplest thing you can do. And second of all, if you're doing that, then, you know, it's pretty much automatic that your calories are going to go down. So it's very easy, very effective. All right, so let's talk about the other goal of this, building quality muscle. How exactly is that done? How are we going to build that quality muscle?
Easy. We're going to build it by not doing full body workouts now. So instead of doing full body workouts, we're going to concentrate on individual muscles and actually take the time to develop those muscles instead of just slapping on, you know, muscles everywhere. Also, we're going to increase the sets. So that's how we're able to spend more time. We're going to increase sets. We're going to concentrate on individual muscles, and also we're going to work them from different angles. So this way you'll have a full developed muscle, which at the same time, remember, is going to increase your metabolism even more.
And I think, you know, that's a very important point, because the biggest difference I noticed personally in phase two was like, well, in phase one, I'm just kind of gaining mass. In phase two, like, I really see like the visual difference in the muscle. Like I see like the chest start to pop, the shoulders start to pop, and like I really I begin to see it, I guess is what I'm saying.
Yeah, and we're going to be using a lot more diverse exercises now in phase two. Phase one was really basic, and phase two is basic, but we're going to introduce more exercises. And you'll find that as the phases continue, there's going to be more exercises introduced. Now, they're not always really going to be complicated. They're actually probably all the simple exercises, but they'll be introduced more because now your muscles are ready to get stimulated in different angles and in different exercises.
Yeah, and that's a good point too, because I know if I tried to do that many sets on an individual body part, you know, before I did phase one, then I would have just hurt myself. But now,
exactly.
Like once you're in phase two, like you kind of have the base and you can handle it.
You built the foundation now, so now you're ready to move forward.
Exactly, yeah. All right, so let's talk about some of the pitfalls that guys should watch out for in this phase. What might guys run into in phase two, which might trip them up?
I think a big one would be the transition from one zero willpower meal to 3.
Okay.
A lot of guys, eating is really one of the toughest parts, and that's why we created the eating system. But you know, don't get hung up on it. If you feel that the transition is still too big from 1 to 3, you can even just go to 2. But just keep this in mind. Always you want to progress. You always want to progress, and you always want to move forward. Now, sometimes people can move forward fast. Sometimes they move forward slow. But just as long as you're always moving in the right direction, that's the key. And eventually, even if you go a little slower, you'll get to the end. So when it comes to the zero willpower meals, you want to bump it up to 3, but if you bump it up to 2, you know, that's still showing progress.
Yeah, definitely. And I think, you know, obviously, I think going from 1 to 3 is probably the simplest, easiest way you could do to decrease your calories, but it does still require, you know, you do still have to use some willpower. I think that, you know, when you're doing 3 meals a day, this is the first time you begin to become like really serious about the zero willpower eating system. And I know that if you're used to a lot of variety in your eating, it can kind of be a challenge. But just really keep your eyes on the prize. Get as many of those meals per day in as you can. You know, even if it's just 2 on some days.
Right.
And it really, really is going to pay off in your waistline.
And also in phase 2, now that you're going to visually see a lot more progress, you always want to make sure you're tracking your measurements. So don't forget to do that. And the reason why that's so important, again, is if you don't track your measurements and you don't track your progress, then you don't know if you're actually doing everything right. And if you do track the progress and you see, hey, you know, I lost a couple inches, you know, then even if you're kind of hung up on some of the things, you know, hey, you know what, this is still a big enough change for me. For example, if you bumped up your meals from 1 to 2, even though it's not to 3, but let's say you lost 2 inches in the first 4 weeks, not too bad of a progress. So you know, hey, I'm still on the right track, you know, and you're doing fine. Now, let's say you decided, hey, you know, I don't want to bump it up to 2. I think I'm just going to stay at 1. And you went ahead and measured and you realized that you didn't get much progress. Then you really want to go ahead and go back and look at those 3 things: the workout, the eating habits, and also the sleep, and find out, you know, what's missing from there. So this way you can make the necessary changes so you can start progressing. So it's very, very important to constantly track your results on a weekly basis, because you don't want to go, you know, a month or 2 and go into phase 3 and realize, well, I haven't even gotten the results I was supposed to expect from phase 1.
Yeah, definitely.
So.
Yeah, I think that's really key too, because, you know, in phase 1, basically they were measuring just to get in the habit, because there really wasn't going to be much waistline reduction. But
right.
in phase 2, like, you really have to expect a steady reduction in your waistline week after week, and you need that like feedback, because if not, you could be, you know, screwing something up for 2 of the 3 weeks, and, you know, 2 of the 3 weeks could really throw you off track.
And another thing to look for is the rest times are going to be decreased. So you want to make sure that you're tracking your rest times. Sometimes people get used to resting a certain amount, and even though they see the change in phase 2, they don't follow that. And just remember, everything is designed for a certain reason, and it's very, very important for you to now, at this point, decrease your rest times. So make sure you're tracking it at all the time. Bring a stopwatch or look at the gym, look at the clock on the gym to make sure that you're following that. I think another one would be they'll actually get a little sore now, like more sore in phase than phase 1. And the result of that is because you're now concentrating on individual muscle groups a lot more than just doing total body. Because when you do total body, everything is stimulated lightly. But now we're going into some pretty heavy breaking down your muscles. So you're going to feel a lot more sore, which is okay and expected. So kind of expect that a little bit.
Yeah, definitely. And another thing which you know, we've talked about too is that, you know, when I did this, and when a lot of other people did this too, a lot of my lifts actually went down in phase 2.
Yeah.
And like, I know that can trip a lot of guys up, especially if you come from the traditional like
right.
bodybuilding mindset of like always lift more, always lift more. Like, how can guys kind of get over that? How can they like remove that block in the head of always needing to lift more?
Well, just think about it this way. If your goal is to lift more, then you're not really looking to just build your body. You're really wanting to do something on the lines of powerlifting, something that actually tracks the amount of weight you lift instead of the way you look. So remember, because the goal here is to get six-pack, the goal here is to get the body that you want. So don't really worry about the amount of weight you lift. Remember, the weights, the gym, the machines, all that stuff, they're just tools. They're just tools to get you where you want to be. So that means if I can lift, you know, let's say 20 pounds on each arm and curl like that, and I can get big bulging biceps, you know, I'm just going to curl 20 pounds. You know, so remember, that's the reason why you're working out. It's not so you can go ahead and lift a lot of weight and show off and stuff like that. It's all fun, but it's all about the results at the very end. So keep that in mind. That's a really good one. Yeah, because a lot of guys get that ego thing where it's like, I'm a little weaker. No, I'm just gonna go ahead and just stay heavy, and they end up getting a few reps in, injuries, things like that. So yeah, definitely keep that in mind. That's good.
Yeah, exactly. And when they're doing that, they don't get the intended cardio effect of these supersets and the reduced rest, which
Right.
is really what we're going for too.
Yeah, and that's actually another reason. That's actually why your body's going to seem to be getting a little weaker. It's because you're introducing supersets, and it's actually exhausting your muscles more. So it's actually a positive thing because we're working your muscles harder. So of course, it's not going to have the strength like it usually does to push the weight like you did in phase 1. But it's all part of the process, and you'll see a significant body fat decrease because of that.
Okay, so finally, we've talked about some of the pitfalls guys have to watch out for, but if they successfully complete phase 2, what kind of results can they expect?
Phase 2 is all going to be about visual now. You're going to visually actually see your body start to reduce. You'll see your waistline start to reduce, and that's actually a pretty exciting time because now in phase 2, the goals that you're going for, the leanness, the definitions, they're all starting to come out anymore. You're not just putting on, muscle now. You're actually starting to decrease, and you start to see the waistline measurement start to drop. Another one is your body fat is going to start to decrease, and what you may appear now is looking more muscular, but not bigger. A lot of times guys can't really tell the difference, but it's really okay. Just realize that the main thing to look for is you're seeing the decrease in waistline. I think one that guys get, but they don't really think about in the beginning, but you actually get a lot stronger functionally. And what we mean by functionally is functional movements are movements that you can use outside the gym. And if you think about it, when was the last time you had to do anything outside the gym to where you lay down and you press like this? Or you lay down and you press with your feet like a leg press? Or you had to stand and curl? They're not functional movements. Functional movements is, let's say I'm mowing the lawn, helping a buddy move, right? Lifting some furniture up. Those are functional movements, and you'll see that your strength is actually going to increase dramatically in the functional strength.
Yeah, so definitely. And I think, phase 2 is actually a really exciting time once you've completed it because for the first time you're revealing all the muscle that you built in phase 1. You're building quality muscle, so you're really seeing the visual results. And on top of that, I know probably a lot of you guys didn't get into this for the functional strength and the agility, but I have to say, you feel a lot better once you have it. I mean, there's been a lot of situations where, to be moved and, I'm hanging out with a girl and I have to lift it. And, my functional strength allows me to do that. And let me tell you, it's like, it feels really good to be able to do that. And it's worth a lot more than you think.
Yeah, I feel like a kid again. When you're so much stronger, you can jump around, you can move around with no discomfort at all. It's an awesome feeling.
And if you do any athletics, then you're going to see a very, very big difference in your athletic performance. I do jiu-jitsu and MMA, and a lot of the dudes and like even who wrestle competitively don't do this type of workout. So if you're doing this type of thing, then you're going to be stronger and your cardio is going to be better than them.
Definitely. So let's go ahead and review and make sure we got the key points. So remember, in phase 2, the main goal is to go ahead and burn body fat. And it's to go ahead and also reduce your waistline. Also remember, we're going to be increasing the meals. So you remember, you got to get to 3 meals on the zero willpower eating system. It's that time now. But, again, if 2 is the most you can get to, don't worry about it, but really, really shoot for 3. That's going to be very, very important because you got to prep for phase 3 and phase 4. And the main thing is just continue to exercise, and we'll see you in the next segment.